Hello class, this is Forces Lesson 2, Video 2, and it is how do I use the force formula to find other variables. Most of the force law that we are talking about is Newton's second law, and to give you a synopsis of that, it's the acceleration of an object by a force is inversely proportional to the mass of the object and directly proportional to the force. And we know this, we put it in words and a formula as in force equals mass times acceleration. So this is where F equals force, M is mass, and A is acceleration. But what we're going to be looking at today is we're going to be looking at, well, how do I figure out what mass is when given the force and the acceleration? Or how do I figure out the acceleration of an object traveling when there is a force applied and I know the mass? And so we're going to be looking at that today when trying to find the mass of an object here. And so if I want to find this, I want to get the m by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the force, I'm going to take the acceleration, and I'm going to divide it because I'm multiplying over here. And so if I do that, I can get the F and the A on this side here, which is what I want to do. So I'm going to take the A, and I'm going to divide both sides by A. And so in order to get this, they cancel out. If I do A divided by A, they cancel. Okay, and this leaves me with F divided by A equals M. So to find the mass, I just simply do force that I have divided by the acceleration. Next, if I'm trying to find the acceleration, I need to get A by itself. And so the way I simply do that is I need to divide by M. And as we know, when M and A are in the same multiplication problem, the order doesn't matter. That's one of our properties of multiplication. So I'm just going to divide by M. And if I divide by M over here, I must do it on this side as well. And this leaves me F divided by M equals A. Okay, because the M's cancel out. Putting this all together, I get what's called the force formula triangle right here. And so if I have this here, this is just a quick way for me to remember that if I have force up here at the top triangle, and then I have the two bottom parts here, A and M, this sets up really nicely a reminder for me. And if I'm trying to find the mass, I simply do the force divided by the acceleration. So if I'm trying to find what's on the bottom here, these guys, I simply do a division problem. Force divided by mass or force divided by acceleration. And then if I'm trying to find the force, I just use my regular mass times acceleration problem. So let's get to the steps to finding any variable in our forces formula. Remember that if I have this forces formula and this triangle, I'm able to find the force, the acceleration, and the mass. But I want to follow these three steps. First, when I'm looking at a story problem, I need to first, and I would write this down in your notes, identify the variables in the problem. If I know the mass and I know the force, I need to find the acceleration. It'll have that stuff in there, and so you need to identify each one and label them. 2, place them into the forces triangle. So if I put them in here, I can put my force and my mass together, and I know I need to find this. I don't know what the A is, and so I do force divided by mass. And then our third step, solve using the formula. Let's practice a problem in 3 different looks. Let's take a look at case number 1. What would the force be of an object with a mass of 20 kilograms and an acceleration of 5 meters per second, or 5 meters per second squared? And so let's first write down what we have. And so we need to figure out what we're missing. And so we have a mass of 20 kilograms, so that goes here, and an acceleration of 5 meters per second. Do I have my force? Nope. So I'm trying to figure that out. So I put here, I don't know what this is, but I do know my mass is 20, and my acceleration is 5. So since they're going across, I multiply. So we do force equals ma, that's my formula, and so I write them down. Force equals 20 times 5, and so force equals 100, and my unit for force is newtons N. So please make sure you write that down and follow that along. Let's take a look at case number 2. What would be the acceleration of an object with a mass of 20 kilograms and a force of 100 newtons? So I do force, mass, acceleration. And so I have a mass of 20 kilograms and a force of 100 newtons. I'm trying to find my acceleration. So I'm going to put them in my triangle. My force is 100. My mass is 20. I need to find my acceleration. So let's do that. It is an up and down problem, so I divide. Sorry for the awful division problem. So we got acceleration equals force divided by mass. Let's fill it in. A equals 100 divided by 20. And yes, I get the same acceleration. A equals 5 meters per second squared. Let's look at this final problem, case 3. What would the mass of an object, what would be the mass of the object with a force of 100 newtons and an acceleration of 5 meters per second per second? So I put my stuff that I know. I know the acceleration is 5. I know that my force is 100 newtons. I need to find the mass. So I put in the parts. And I put my acceleration here, and I need to know my mass. So since I have an up and down problem, it's division. Mass equals force divided by acceleration. So I need to do mass equals 100 divided by 5. And so I'm left with 20. And so my mass equals 20 kilograms. Please make sure that you've copied those problems in your notes. And with that, you will answer the Google Doc and complete the problems for that to show me that you understand what we're doing. And that is how I use the forces formula to figure out the parts. Here's what you'll be doing for your Google Doc. What you're going to be doing for the Google form is you're going to figure out which formula you would use of the triangle. So what I'm going to be doing in the Google form is I'm going to figure out which formula you would use for these problems.